Happy October 25th, everyone, and welcome to Midwest Horror Network's October 2020 special, where we discuss all of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. Today we are talking about Treehouse of Horror 25, and boy, was that an interesting one, to say the least.
It's I would say this is far more consistent
than the last one.
Than the last one, 100% more consistent.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get right into it. Very brief intro this time. So we have like a Johnny Carson style opening of like frames showing clips from previous Treehouse of Horrors, because they're making a big deal about it being the 25th one. And as the clips go along, you see some fake ones as well that never existed. And it is like either Kang or Kodos doing the announcement. And in honor of their 25th Treehouse of Horror, he is listing all of the guest stars that they have, like Jennifer Lawrence, John Travolta, George Clooney, Clint Eastwood. Like the list just goes on and on and on. Leonardo DiCaprio is listed. Just like all these A-listers. just gigantic list. And when he gets to the end of it, the title is revealed, Treehouse of Horror 25. But the title is made up of body parts from all of the listed guest stars.
It's not even body parts, it's full bodies just strung together.
Yeah. So very brief intro. Really no real thoughts about it. It introduced the title and that's it.
It was fun to see Santa's little helper with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Goddamn Raven.
With that, let's get into our first story. School is Hell. Zach, tell us about School is Hell.
So School is Hell might be one of my favorite episodes. So it starts off, Bart has done a bunch of crazy shit in school, so he's got, an excessive detention. So he's in there for a long period of time, so he does something to keep himself occupied with the desks. He goes, he sees a lot of dust on one of them, clears it off, and then there's these hieroglyphics in there. He touches it, and his finger, kind of lights up on fire for a quick second, so he has the bright idea to get Lisa. Touch that hieroglyphic, Lisa! I'm not stupid, Bart. Thankfully, I have an app to translate what these say. And I forgot what language she said it was, but she...
It was like ancient Aramaic or something like that.
Something around those lines. But yeah, she translates it, and Bart reads it, and it's essentially what it says is, anybody who reads this will be damned for all eternity. So Bart and Lisa go straight to hell. And it's essentially the school, it's just the hell version. There's this kid who's writing something on the chalkboard like Bart would usually be doing at the beginning. And the reason he was thrown into hell was because apparently he thought Jesus' body was an illusion or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oddly specific reference.
Yeah. Somebody somewhere got that whole part. Because even there's like this demon type Nelson who makes fun of him for something involving that. Some religious scholar somewhere got that.
I'm sure they did, but
Indeed.
That flew right over my head. I'll have to ask Ray about it. Anyways, continuing on. Bart and Lisa walk out into the hallway. There's a whole bunch of kids walking around. The kid's giving them a tour. Lisa runs into the mean girls. One mean girl insults Lisa's outfit. Lisa comes back with the insult. You're so sad that you're insulting my clothes. Oh, want to hang out with us? Then it starts snowing, and Lisa comes to the realization, you're right. It would be a cold day in hell when I'm popular in school. It's like, wow, okay. And then Bart walks into his first class, and it's essentially Torture 101. The teacher's asking, what is the best way to torture somebody who robs a bank? Nobody can give a good answer. Then Bart comes up with an answer, and the teacher gives him, like, a sticker or whatever.
Pumpkin sticker, which is an actual... It bites his ear.
Yeah. And then Bart gets excited. He's like, holy crap, this is what it feels like to be successful. And attracted to my teacher.
Yeah, he said, for once I actually have a crush on my teacher. And then she says to him, down here, we can make that happen.
Oh, I missed that.
Really? I wish I would have gone to this school as a kid.
This is Zach's fantasy of what he wanted his childhood to be.
Torture 101. This would have been great. Anyways, yeah, Bart is excelling through all the torture programs, and then Lisa finds a way out of hell, and that portal is Mr. Burns' office. Mr. Burns proceeds to say, as soon as they leave, thank you for choosing Burns' Hell Portal 101.
Local time is 10:30.
We know you have your choice of portals. Thank you for choosing the Monty Burns portal.
Oh my god, that was fucking funny.
It's just like, well, I can't say I'm surprised. So yeah, Bart goes home, and then he tells Marge and Homer that he finally found a school that he loves, and he's excelling in it. And then Homer goes on this rant about how it's probably a private school. They're gonna send you a whole bunch of emails. All the parents are gonna click reply all, so you're stuck with a whole bunch of responses. You gotta pay for books and all this other bullshit. And then Bart just says it's free. Oh, okay, well that sounds good. So they go for orientation. They give Homer and Marge the rundown on why it's a good school for Bart and everything like that. Marge decides to agree and let him do a whole semester. Bart gets excited. He runs off. They give Homer a pamphlet explaining how the parents could get involved. Homer rips it up, throws it, and then the pamphlet decides to choke out Homer. Afterwards, Bart is excelling in all his courses, doing a whole bunch of cool training sessions, and then he graduates at the top of his class.
And some of the classes are like long division, where it's like he stretches out a body and then cuts it in half. I also liked evil reading or something like that, and it's like there's a whole bunch of like books that are given that are like spoof book titles, like Fahrenheit 451,000 by Ray Bradbury. I forget some of the other ones, but the last one was The O'Reilly Factor for Kids.
I did laugh.
That one was funny.
Then while Hell is for Children by Pat Benatar is playing in the background.
Yeah. This was, don't
forget his final exam.
So his final exam was he had to torture somebody, and he had to torture his father. At first he was a little hesitant to do it, but then he found out his father,
is actually proud of how good he's doing at school.
Yeah, so he offered himself up, so he tortured the shit out of his father, and then graduated, and that's the end of the episode.
Then his father's in a mangled mess out in the audience. This is a really good episode.
I also liked how in the background, while Bart and Lisa are walking in the hallway when they first get there, you can see the donut machine from Treehouse of Horror 4 in the background.
Nice. Yep, 100%. Yeah, this is a really funny episode. Very funny.
I would have loved to have gone to this school as a kid.
Yeah, they designed the hell version of their school very well.
Yeah.
Especially like the demons and everything.
Skinner and Chalmers sharing a body.
Yeah.
This was just a very fun episode. It had some good, funny moments in it, but overall, the story was just great.
Yeah, this is a very entertaining episode. I definitely recommend this one.
Why couldn't I have had a hot demon teacher as a kid?
One can wish.
Together, you could have made a felony happen.
That's true. That is actually accurate.
Well, I didn't even keep track of the felony counter in this one.
Ding, another felony counter.
This is a really fun one. Pretty straightforward story. In some of our earlier recordings, we've talked about how challenging it is to have a complete beginning, middle, and end for these stories. Yes. And I feel like this one really did hit those notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the jokes felt organic within the story they told. The animation was awesome. The character designs were awesome. The mangled Homer at the end was gross.
Yes.
Yeah. Appropriately gross. Yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about this one.
Definitely.
Agreed.
Explains why the New York Yankees were in first place for like 10 years.
Yeah. One of the classes was keeping the Yankees in first place.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. This was a fun one.
So, Mark, tell us about our second segment, A Clockwork Yellow.
So let's take every Stanley Kubrick reference and throw it out the wall and see what sticks.
That doesn't happen until later.
So essentially, this is a giant parody ripoff, whatever you want to say, of A Clockwork Orange. Goes through the whole story. Mo is the leader of their little gang, and they go ahead and do everything in the movie that they do, which is pretty cool. And then Homer meets a version of Marge, and then they fall in love. And during a hilarious montage of Homer in her apartment and fast forward, playing goofy music,
which that's a direct reference to Clockwork Orange.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, except in this version, Marge is just sitting on the bed, bored, while Homer is like eating and drinking like everything he can, like beers, wines, burgers,
exercising,
reading, all this
grilling.
stuff. Whereas in the actual movie, it's the main character having a threesome done in fast forward.
Nice. Love it. So
Played to the same music.
that's amazing. So they go ahead and break up the gang. Mo eventually gets depressed because the other two gang members leave, and then he becomes bring up the sacred art of bartending. So he begins to do that, and then he spends most of his time watching a very crappy television. Puts on the famous eye openers,
The eye clamps.
And begins to watch crappy entertainment, which
which was Fox.
Exactly. Simpsons has no problem with making fun of Fox, which is perfectly fine.
What is Fox gonna do?
Exactly.
Cancel them?
hasn't worked for Simpsons. Hasn't worked for Family Guy. Not gonna work. Anyway,
Family Guy made that joke several times already. What are you gonna do? Cut our budget? You're going to Nam.
yeah. See him go to the store. That was great. Mo, they do the. He answers the door. There was a knock at the door. He answers the door, and he takes off the clamps, which I proceed to hear Brandon go, "Ooh."
Yeah, because like the clamps were stuck to his eyelids and just stretched out his eyelids and they snapped back. And it's like the eye stuff just creeps me out.
Fair enough.
Oh, so that's where he draws the line.
Now I know his limits. So Mo gets a knock at the door. It's a new set of gang, taking up his old mantle, and they say, let's open up the door. There's a person hurt out here, and it's like that's the oldest trick in the book. I'm not solving that. Nelson sneaks up on him from inside the apartment and then knocks him down, and then opens up the door, and then they go and proceed to beat the shit out of him.
My question is, how the fuck did Nelson get in there?
Logic, I don't know.
Through the back door. That is a reference to the movie.
Yeah, I know that whole scene. The part that's interesting is he didn't singing in the rain.
No.
Which I found.
But I mean, they have 7 minutes here. They got to keep it moving. This isn't the part of the story that they were interested in doing. This is all set up.
This is
set up for the last thing.
Yeah, this is all set up for what they really wanted to do with this story.
Which is sort of the kitchen, everything.
But we'll get to that shortly.
So Mo goes back to Homer, who's now married. Says, "Hey, come out for one last thing with me." He eventually convinces Homer to come out, and then he runs into Carl and
Lenny,
who used to be part of the gang, and then they join back up after becoming police officers. They decided they're going to put on their worst suggestions for what they can do tonight, and they all put it into a hat, and then they pick out what they're going to do. They choose a home invasion. They definitely chose the wrong house. They walk in, it is an Eyes Wide Shut party, complete with all the masks and all the orgies going on around.
And all the sex view blockers.
Indeed. And then they proceed to get in a giant fight with all the other different people. And then during the course of the fight, the funniest joke of the entire episode happens, where he walks into a bathroom and sees the guy from Full Metal Jacket,
Private Pile,
loading a gun, and he's like, "I'm gonna let you finish." And they close the door. It's only
eyes wide open. He's like, "Nah,
I'm gonna let you finish."
And then right after that, we get Homer beating up Sideshow Mel with the bone that's in Sideshow Mel's hair, and he's like beating up like the ape from 2001: Space Odyssey.
Correct.
And then the camera trucks out, and you see what's supposed to be a reference to like the black monolith from 2001: Space Odyssey. And the door opens, and this guy comes and is like, there's my iPhone, and he just walks up. And
then Zach's like, "Fuck you." And then you got comic book guy who gets shot, and he's like, "I don't even know what reference this is for."
Barry Lyndon.
You gotta let Zach do it.
So he shoots the musket at one of the guys. The musket ball bounces off, hits comic book guy in the leg, and then he says, "I don't even know what reference this is from."
Even I forget what this is a reference to.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. Even I forget what this is a reference to.
Dude,
it's a reference to Barry Lyndon.
I'm sure it is.
Fair enough.
It's a pretty good movie. It's definitely not a movie made with today's pacing in mind, but it is a very good movie.
Fair enough. And then we go to the ultimate meta reference at the end of the episode where it actually shows Stanley Kubrick is watching it.
Yep.
And then his assistant comes in and he says, "Burn it all. We're starting over." And then he throws a pen up in the air and it comes down in slow motion and then hits him on the head.
Yep. Which the pen was thrown up 2001 Space Odyssey style, like the
That
bone.
goddamn bone shot that's way more popular than it has any right to be.
True. And then that's the end of the episode. It's a fucking crazy ride. I think it takes a little bit to get to where we want it to get, to the last showdown. But once the payoff happens at the end with all the references, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, for the most part, this episode is boring, but that ending bit really did save it.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially that private pilot show.
Like, you can tell that was what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, 100%.
if you don't have what came before it, it doesn't work.
No, yeah, you need some kind of build up to keep it, to get it, the tension build up. And
I just love the look on Mo's face when he sees Private Pilot.
I'll let you
He's like, fuck that.
I'm gonna let you finish.
It's like that Mo just like, oh shit.
I've stepped into the wrong Kubrick movie.
I've seen this one before. No, thank you.
And I also like some of the little nods, like when at the beginning when Mo with his gang are walking around, he's like, and then we went in for a little of the in out, and voiceovers that they're outside the Quickie Mart, and you see this woman standing outside the Quickie Mart, just like, uh-oh. And then it cuts to them just like jumping in and out of the automatic doors of the Quickie Mart, just shouting, in, out, in, out.
That was stupid. That was really stupid.
But if you've seen the movie, when he said that, you probably had the same reaction as that woman standing outside the Quickie Mart.
Yes. So, but yeah, it was a fun episode. Or a fun little segment. I think I dug it.
Yeah.
Obviously
Perfectly.
But like Brandon was saying, though, the ending was what made it all work. But you know, without the beginning part, it wouldn't be as impactful. So I definitely recommend. Yeah,
the beginning part has enough to get you through it, but you're watching that segment for the ending part.
100%.
David, tell us about The Others.
Well, this one obviously is spoof of The Others. Start off with the Simpsons family finding some kind of mysterious milkshake.
The frosty chocolate
milkshake. I don't know where the hell they came from.
Which that is a reference to very early Simpsons episodes.
Really?
Yeah, it was a thing that Homer would say, let's go out for frosty chocolate milkshakes.
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember that. And then apparently everything on every channel on TV is Married with Children.
Oh my god!
A variation.
Oh my god! That fucking joke is so funny.
Yeah, definitely. Because every time they like change the channel or a different like style and different cultures. One point,
Animal Planet had them as animals.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi Channel had it as like the Xenomorph and some other alien.
I think that alien was from the
previous Treehouse of Horror. Yeah.
Saudi Arabia Network.
Al Jazeera. BET.
Yeah.
The BET one had me dying. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was great because I'm a big fan of Married with Children, so
same.
It was awesome.
Al Bundy is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and then we cut to the bedroom. Homer's sleeping. Marge gets up to get some water, or she heard some kind of commotion downstairs, and then he gets fondled by a ghost. And he thinks that it's Marge, and the bed proceeds to float up, and he wakes up and realizes where he is, and he says not even the elevator at work can lift him up. What else? After that, he decides to summon the ghosts that are haunting him or his family, and he realizes that it's the original Simpsons family from
like the Tracy Ullman days.
So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Those designs.
Yeah.
It was a very appropriate choice for like the 25th Treehouse of Horror, I thought.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we further we move along further with the old Marge falling in love, or the younger Marge falling in love with Homer, and Homer falling in love with her because she wasn't so cranky.
Yeah, and they do kind of capture the difference in personalities of what they were at year 25 compared to the Tracy Ullman days. Homer was a lot angrier back in those days. Marge is a bit more concerned type mother now. Bart would just burp and say, "Don't have a cow, man."
Yeah, unmotivated.
Yeah, that was unmotivated. "Don't have a cow, man." Burp.
Yeah. So Marge gets jealous and decides to kill herself, to turn herself into a ghost, sticks her head in the oven, and decides to clean it before she dies.
Because if I'm going to kill myself, I better do it in a clean oven.
Yeah. Homer's taking a...
You're not going to care in, a minute.
No,
That's still how Marge would go if she were to kill herself, I believe.
Probably, yeah. Homer's taking a nice bubble bath, and then the other Marge is already there. Then his Marge, the older one, shows up out of the tub, and he gets scared or whatever. He's a ghost, but then realizes there's two of them, and kind of likes that. Maybe wanted a threesome instead of two demons. What else? Then the family decide they want to...
Well, it's old Homer gets jealous of new Homer falling in love with old Marge. And so then he takes a toaster, and you think he's going to drop it into the tub, but he just beats Homer over the head with it, and then Homer falls in the bathtub.
Drowns, kills himself. Then the kids realize that they're pretty much the ones taking charge.
Yep.
Bart doesn't want to take the responsibility, jumps out the window. Lisa's like, "Oh, hell no. I'm not going to be the only one." Jumps out the window. We realize that Bart was pretty much just pretending.
He jumped onto a tree branch.
Yeah.
And then Lisa takes a slingshot and fires like a rock into his throat. He chokes to death. And then you see the three kids, Ghost, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. And then you see Groundskeeper Willie.
The darkest moment in that segment.
Groundskeeper Willie's dragging the kids' bodies.
And Lisa asks, "Wait a minute, who killed Maggie?"
And then Groundskeeper Willie has his shifty eyes
and runs away.
It was so fucking
I'm going to have enough stew to last me the whole winter.
Yeah. Fuck.
I don't really know how to explain that. That was just really
that one was really out of left field.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
No, neither was I. It's like, what the fuck?
So they're all... we cut back to them in the living room. They're fighting, not getting along. Their psychiatrist comes in to try to, calm everything down. Then they decide to love each other. Then towards the end, there's a whole bunch of... Or they said a comment about the animators and the budget.
Yeah, if there's it was like Lisa had this realization that if there are two incarnations of The Simpsons, what would keep some evil corporation from making different versions to capitalize off of?
And then burst through the door, there's different versions of The Simpsons family. They had like an anime version at one point. They had
South Park version.
South Park. There
was an Archer version in the background.
Minions.
Oh god.
It was fucking awful. 3D version. So
it was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a decent enough joke though.
Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah. And then it ended with a callback to that old Simpsons short of the family photo.
Yep. Where things are not goes well as they expect with the photo. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a fun callback to the Simpsons of past.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty fun one. I mean, it
was all right.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. And a couple funny jokes. Overall, a pretty decent segment. I didn't not like it. Obviously you'll find out more about my different picks for favorite versus not favorite or least favorite. So, but overall, it's a pretty good segment.
Yeah.
What are our picks for funniest moment?
There's a couple really good ones. Like it's really hard to choose. I'm gonna probably say it's a tie between the Married with Children, and the Mr. Burns circle, the portal.
I am between Groundskeeper Willie's shifty eyes about Maggie, and just the whole final segment at the Eyes Wide Shut party with all the Kubrick references at the end of segment 2.
I'm gonna go with the private pile section. That the look on Mo's face. That oh shit moment. Just
Yeah, that was fucking.
Metal jackets.
when you know what that scene implies, you're like, fuck.
Nope. That's a big no, big buddy.
Mine is, I got 2 of them. Mine is the Willie shifty eyes with Maggie. Is just too fucked up. And then the second one is the Yankees in first place.
Yeah,
Which makes
that's pretty good.
If I had to choose a second one, it would probably be the Married with Children changing the channels bits. Like all those different variations is hilarious. Some of those I'd love to see, just Al Bundy and that type, like that. Oh,
that sci-fi version was something interesting.
Yeah, that was funny too.
That's cool.
Yeah, sounds like we got a good variety of jokes from different segments.
Much more of a consistency with all the segments.
Yeah.
Overall, that there were at least something good from every single segment.
Yeah. All right. Creepiest, goriest, grossest, most violent, darkest.
I'm just gonna say the entirety of segment 1.
You're not wrong.
That was just nothing but a train of violence.
Specifically, I'm going to go with the mangled Homer at the end.
I'm definitely going to go with your guys' funniest moment, which was the Groundskeeper Willie one. That was super fucking dark. It was funny, but it was very dark.
It was fucked up.
It was extremely fucked up.
But
So I'm gonna go with that for my darkest or most fucked up clip.
I'm gonna double dip on that and put that as the creepiest.
Because we were talking about infant murder, sir. That's what we were talking about.
It was dark and creepy, but then I just started busting.
It's like, what the fuck?
Because
I wasn't expecting it.
There's nothing else to do besides that.
Yeah.
To laugh.
that awkward laugh.
About how fucked it is.
All right. Least favorite segment of the episode.
3.
All right, what's making you go with 3?
As we talked about before, you just got to kind of pick one. I think overall it was a weaker segment. I didn't enjoy it as much. And also, too, I didn't really watch those Tracy Ullman shorts, so I'm not going to appreciate it as much as you guys would. So I don't, understand a lot of the references or, some of that ending photograph. I, wasn't really a part of that. So, and I had enjoyed the first 2 segments so much, that I think that was the weaker one for me.
Okay. David, Zach?
I was gonna say 2, just because again I'm not a big fan of Clockwork Orange to begin with, but I'm gonna have to go with 3 because it wasn't really. At least 2 was a little bit more entertaining for me than a second.
Well, 2 was also, even though Clockwork Orange was like the primary spoof, it was going after Kubrick movies.
Yeah, exactly.
In general.
Yeah, I'm gonna choose 3 because even though, like David said, I'm not a big Clockwork Orange fan at all, but that ending really stuck, and that whole private pile moment just fucking gets me.
Well, guys, I'm also going to go with 3.
All right, unanimous.
Nice. I don't think there's a single bad one in these trio, but as I always say, there's only 3 per episode. One of them's going to come out on bottom.
Yeah.
And like the first one, we talked about that one, and the second one, we talked about how it has a slow beginning, but you're watching it for that last moment.
It's stuck
and
to
if
landing.
you are a Kubrick fan, it's got a lot for you.
Oh, yeah.
In there. And the third one, it's a good callback to the past of The Simpsons. And yeah, Mark, if you're more familiar with those shorts, you're going to get more out of it. But to me, the story did kind of feel just a little forced together just to make things happen a certain way. And with that, it was tough between choosing 2 or 3 for my least favorite of this episode, because 2 does take a while to get to where it's going, but when it gets to where it's going, it's great. Whereas when 3, when that gets to where it's going, it's like, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it just didn't have as much of an impact on me as I think it should have, but it was still good.
Yeah.
All right, favorite segment of the episode.
1,
Why are you choosing 1, Zach?
because it was fucking violent and awesome.
Are any of us really shocked that he's choosing 1?
No.
No.
And I'm actually going to choose 1 because just purely on the fact that I enjoyed that episode from start to finish. The second episode, I only moderately enjoyed that first half. Obviously, that whole ending was fantastic and it really stuck. But the first one I enjoyed from start to finish, all the way through. So I'm gonna have to go with number 1 for me.
Yeah.
Dave?
For B, 1. Mainly because jokes hit. With Lisa saying, they were right. It's gonna be a cold day in hell when I'm popular. And I really enjoyed the animation and the designs of the characters for the first one.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
And I am also going to go with 1.
Nice.
I do want to say that I think the best moment or the best portion of this episode as a whole is that last part in the Kubrick one with all the Kubrick references. But like Mark said, 1 was consistent start to finish, whereas 2, even though it was enjoyable for me, now that I've seen it a couple times, you are kind of just waiting to get to where it's going. So it's a little difficult for me to choose between 1 and 2 because I love the Kubrick references so much. But if it was just that last portion of 2, I'd be saying 2. But like we've also said, without that first half, it doesn't work. Whereas 1 was it was a very consistent story beginning to end. And also 2 did kind of feel a little slapped together in its first half, just trying to get that Clockwork Orange story condensed down to even less than 7 minutes, because they were kind of splitting that between Clockwork Orange and the Kubrick references in general. So they had a much tighter time frame to work with the Clockwork Orange story.
Okay.
But I thought they did a very good job with it. But at the end of the day, there has to be a winner, and I'm going to go with 1.
Of course.
Thank you all for listening to today's episode of our Treehouse of Horror special. You can listen to our regular podcast, the Nightmares podcast, where podcasts are available. And be sure to check us out on social media at Midwest Horror Network on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and
Slasher. And of course, if you are checking this out on YouTube, please smash that like button and press that subscribe, and then click that little dingy bell to be notified every time we drop new content right here on the Midwest Horror Network's YouTube channel. And if you are listening to this on several different podcasting streaming places like Apple and also Spotify, click that little follow button to also be notified every time we do something awesome like this, and also to check out our regular podcast, the Nightmares podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you tomorrow.
happy October 25th, everyone.